In this video, we're going to look into a Python script that can help us discover devices that are connected in the same network. So to discover devices connected on the same network, we can use the Python programming language, and we can rely on the Scapy library, which is a powerful Python library used for network packets manipulation and sending. And we can rely on the ARP, the address resolution protocol, to request to scan the local network and identify the connected devices. Before we begin, you would need to have Python installed on your system, and to confirm that Python is installed on your system, you can type Python, in this case Python 3, and you will have the interactive Python 3 terminal interface. This verifies that we have Python 3.11 installed. Alternatively, you will let's exit this. You will use the version command, which depending on see the help command, which should tell us how to see the fact that you can execute Python, this verifies that you have Python installed. That should be the capital V, which shows that you have Python 3.11. So another prerequisite, you should have Scapy installed, since we're going to rely on this library. Already I have Scapy installed in my system, that's why we get this, that the requirement is already satisfied. So having Python and Scapy, we can now jump into creating a Python script that will help us discover devices on the network. This is helpful for you as a hacker or as a normal user. So we are going to create a new file, and we're going to call this file, we can use a simple word, find underscore devices underscore network dot the Python extension py.py, to simplify that we are writing a Python extension. We are using Visual Studio, we are using the VS Code, and to start us off, we'll need to import the Scapy .all. Then we are importing from Scapy.all. We are going to import the ARP module. We also need the other module, and we need the SRP module. We also need to import the args module, the argparser module, to help us pass the arguments. So how we are going to do this is, we are going to provide, while running the script, we are going to provide the target IP range, and that's where we need the import argument library, which is helpful for that, which which will help us in passing the command line arguments. So the first function that we're going to write is the get argument function that will help us pass our arguments. So we are defining a function get arguments, and we're using the args parser module. This module is an optimal OptParser inspired command line passing library to help us to add the arguments that we are going to be passing to our script. You can use the -t option or the -- target, which will be saved to the target, will be a target, and have the help command for it. There should be an IP range that you want to find devices that are in that IP range or are connected to the network in that IP range. And what this function does is it returns the options. After passing the arguments, it will return the options with the arguments that we pass from the command. Next, we are going to write or have a scan function that will help us to now scan our network depending on the IP range that we provide from the arguments, and it's going to find all the connected devices. And I'll paste this function, then I can explain about this function. So the function will perform the network scan. Here we define the function. It creates an ARP request, and we are passing the IP to this function. The IP range will come from the arguments that we pass. Then it combines the ARP request with an Ethernet frame and combines the two, and it sends the packet and receives the response. So it will use the SRP module to broadcast on this range, and it will return a list which will collect the IP and the MAC addresses of the devices that responds to the ARP request. So this answered list will have all the devices that have answered to our ARP request. So here we are defining a list. This is how we define a list in Python, and we have a variable named clients. Then we are iterating through the answered list from the ARP request, and from here we are passing the results, and we are appending the client dictionary. So we are defining a dictionary here in Python where we have the IP and the MAC address. We are extracting the IP from the first element, PSRC, and the MAC address from this variable, and we are appending that to our client. So we'll have a dictionary, a list with dictionaries of clients with their IP and the MAC addresses, and we are returning the list of our devices, or rather the IP and the MAC addresses of these devices. So to print this, we'll have a function that will help us print this, or we need not to print this in a good format. So we are defining a function print results that we are passing in the results results that will be returned from the scan, and we are printing the IP and the MAC address. Then we are looping through the results list, and we are printing the IP and the MAC address of the dictionary that we defined here. Since we defined the IP and the MAC address of the devices, in this case we are printing this. And to connect all this, we define another variable options, which get the arguments. So we are getting the arguments by calling the get argument function, which will get the arguments, or rather the IP range that we pass. Then we are defining another scan underscore results variable. This should hold the results from our scan. So we are calling the scan function, and we are passing in the options that we just defined dot our target. Since destination of this was to be target, so we need to extract the target. And so from the arguments we get the target range, we pass it to the scan method, and then finally we print our results by passing in the scan results. So that's pretty a simple but effective script that will help you get all the devices that are connected to the same network you are running the script in. So to execute this script, we need to save the script. You already saved the script, and open a terminal. Then we need to run the script. So I'll just open a terminal here. To execute the script, we can look our IP. So our IP range is pretty 192.168.1. So we can use this. We already installed Scapy and it's working, but we also need Win Pickup, which is also a requirement for this to run. If you are on Windows, you will need the Win Pickup, but depending on the platform you are in case of an error, you can debug and see what is required. So to execute this, we need the Python 3, and we are executing the find device. Then we are passing our argument, our target. IP range is 192.168.1.0/24. So it's going to send the ARP request to this range, and for all devices that respond, you're going to get the IP and the MAC address. So in pickup, so we found one target with an IP address of 192.168.65. Let's run that again. devices. Yeah, that should be correct. Currently I have 2 devices connected, and depending on the number of devices on your network, you should be able to see the IP and the MAC address. So that's a simple script that should be helpful to ethical hackers. In case you don't have other tools, you can rely on these to scan the IP range for devices. So that's it for this video.